Hi guys, welcome to Purple Corner. How are you doing? Today I've bitten off more than I can chew. In the last episode, I mentioned that I listened to some podcasts while creating my animations, and coincidentally, one of my all time favorites just celebrated their 1 year anniversary. And one of my big dreams is to make a short animation about my favorite YouTubers. So I decided to jump at this opportunity and make an animated short about Creepcast. So without further ado, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and let's get into it! Before I got into drawing, I needed to pick an audio that I would like to animate. I was reconsidering if I should make a scary video or a funny video, but considering my recent scary attempts, I decided that I have higher chances of success with the funny video. So I decided to go for the 1 year anniversary episode, which is Dead the Caver. There was one part where they just started doing this really funny redneck accent. And I don't know what it is with me and accents, but I just find them hilarious. And I just imagined two American neighbors, like dads, talking across the fence about how life was back then. So I started by designing a character for Papa Meat. He is also known as Meat Canyon on YouTube and he makes these really wicked animations, so I really hope he likes this. With his accent, he just kind of reminded me of this farmer dude, so I gave him this cowboy hat and he is kind of a bigger guy, so I made him more round with these almost hose-like arms. I gave him a really tired look because he always sounds like he's falling asleep. Next, I started designing Wendigoon. He is more of the skinny character, not to mention he recently cut his beard, so he just has this mustache. And he gives off big Christian dad vibes who also loves his guns. He usually wears shirts, so I gave him this shirt, except for the redneck part. I just made the sleeves ripped off, and also these white jeans. Also some nice cowboy boots for proper yard work. When I was young, my family was also Christian, and we had this friend who also had a mustache and was really skinny and tall, and I think I captured his vibe perfectly within this character. I wanted to make him holding a shotgun, but then I realized I can't draw guns. So I just made this really tiny pistol to get the message across. The way he talks in this episode, it just sounds so dead inside that I was like, I just have to give him deadbeat eyes, no expression whatsoever. So I had the basic sketches with some side views and also the general body shape. And then we got into drawing the storyboard. When I started making this animation, I was really doubting myself because I was just really afraid that people would get offended about some of this. It's all really just a satire for these American guys, boomers, and they just talk so many politics. So I was thinking maybe people will think that I'm just hating on the rednecks or something, but truth be told, I never really met one in my life as I'm not American. And really the only reason why I'm making this is just I find it hilarious when Wendigoon and Papa Meat decide to make impressions of someone and generally acting out different accents. Since Papa Meat is also a voice actor, I think he can do voices really well, and I just get so many giggles watching these podcasts, although they're supposed to be creepy. For those who don't know about Creepcast, I highly recommend you go check it out. Because I'm not much into podcasts, nor am I much into scary media, but the way they tell the story just makes it really fun to listen to while you're just doing other stuff, like drawing or animating or crocheting or whatever you like to do. They usually read creepypastas or stories from No Sleep subreddit. They're usually also viewers' recommendations, so the story can really be a hit or a miss. But I really like that even the most boring stories, they can just make something really funny and great out of it. So you can see me just doing some basic sketches just to get the general idea for the framing of the whole scene and the poses the characters will be making. One thing I really love about my storyboards is there's usually like a stereotype for people storyboarding. Either they make really clean and nice drawings, or they just have the most messy storyboard ever. For me, it's kind of transitional as I start really nice and even, but I soon get bored and I just start reusing frames and erasing and redrawing, and it just gets so messy by the end. So the story basically starts with two guys just having a conversation how it used to be back in the good old days. They each have their own house, their own kids, and they're just talking across the fence like good neighbors do. And soon they start telling different stories about adventures they had as a kid, and really they're just laughing the whole time, and it just sounds like they get progressively more and more drunk with each sentence. I decided it would be way too much work to just design all the characters, so I decided to just stick with the two main characters, and everyone else is just kind of generic, or I just make them into like these silhouettes to make it easy on myself. This isn't really an animation that I want to put too much effort into. Well, I already did, but you know what I mean. It's honestly more of a meme than a proper animation that I would try really hard on. Even the storyboard just took forever because I wanted to keep the whole conversation, not making it out of context or something. So it's around a minute and 45 seconds, which might sound short, but to an animator, it just sounds like forever. Designing the characters took around 1 hour, and just the storyboard with around 55 pictures took 3 hours to complete. And it's just the basic pictures, so I will really have to think about ways where to save time. Usually Papa Meat makes most of the voices and impressions, but this time Wendy Gunn really chipped in and carried most of the conversation. I have no idea how he got into the character so much. In this part, you can see that I've probably never seen a pickup truck in my life. And I was looking at references, but I was still struggling so much. I'm just not good with guns, cars, or just anything man-made. Just let me draw pretty flowers. In the end, I think I nailed it pretty well. So I was really thinking if I should show what I'm making before actually finishing it. But I decided it's like whatever. I'll just show you the storyboard so you kind of know what to expect when it's done. But I think this project is more of a long term. I hope I can finish it within a month, because this is definitely not a 1 week project. Okay, let's go check out the finished result.
That has to be lost in these younger generations, dude.
Yeah, the kids don't know. Kids with their TikToks and their
These
iPhones
kids
ain't
don't-
looking for pirate treasure no more.
They don't look for pirate treasure anymore. They're just too worried about TikTok dancing and changing sexualities.
I tell you what, Obama's America took the treasure
It's
maps
Obama.
away from us.
They took the treasure maps away. They took the treasure maps away and made people want to be dogs.
What has this country come to?
If only McCain would have won the election.
Back when I was a kid, you go out with your buddies, and then Jerry gets bit by a copperhead, and he died out in the woods like a man.
Yeah, back
Now
when
what? You get hooked up on dialysis and live for 40 years?
Yeah, exactly. You either get bit
my
by
country.
You get bit by a copperhead, or you and your buddies do some things that you keep some secrets to your grave.
You and your buddies go out there, you find your dad's moonshine bottle, and you make some mistakes.
Yeah,
like good Christians.
Some
and you
people-
don't tell nobody except your assistant pastor, then you don't go to that church no more.
Well, we call it mistakes, but really they're happy accidents.
There's some happy accidents. That's what I tried to tell the assistant preacher. He got me out of that church. As a matter of fact, he threatened to register me with the state of Illinois. So that's why I told the family we were moving to out of Detroit, because
Right.
the business was gone in the region. That's why we're down here now.
Right.
But look, I'm just saying that is the kind of hard. No one wants to work anymore. Okay,
You know
so
what
that's
I
why
say?
that's where this country's brought us to.
Sometimes the cucumber tastes better pickled.
My head's like, what does that even mean? And the other half of my head's like, just don't think about it too hard.
Next, I decided to work on some backgrounds that would be constant within the whole conversation, and also some assets. So as you know, I'm not a background artist, so I just made some smudges that kind of look like trees in some road. And then I just put a little blur in it so you can't really see it that well. Then I struggled making some microphones because I'm not good at this. And I know I could just make the microphone once and mirror it for the other person, but I was like, no, I want to make 2 separate microphones for no reason. If you wonder what my reference was for this one, it was an actual episode of Creepcast. I was watching it on YouTube as I was making this and just occasionally paused when I needed to look at the microphone. Like, yes, Papa Meat has kind of a different microphone than I drew for him, but I don't know, I just decided they would be different for some reason. Don't ask me why. I didn't make all the assets, I just made a few because I was honestly lazy, and I made the most prominent ones that would be in almost every scene. But then I already got into some sketch animating, so I used the storyboard that I made earlier to have the basic placement of the characters. And all I needed to do was retrace it and then just make some in-between frames. Also, do you love the Papa Meets Metal shirt? So once again, I made the keyframes, which would be the part where he's sitting upright and then one where he leans on his hand. And then I copied the head so I don't have to retrace it over and over again. And I started working on the in-betweens. This movement is pretty slow, so I didn't use any smudge for this one. I was just trying to keep the hands and the body consistent size. I really loved that I was so lazy to draw fingers and hands that I just gave Papa Meat the Patrick Star hand. He's such a rough sounding guy, but with these hands it just seems like he's wearing mittens all the time, and I love it. A reference for me was just leaning on my hand again and again to see how I would move the most naturally. So first you just sort of prepare your hand as a cushion and then you lean on it. So I kind of tried to replicate the same movement here. I'll also show the finished results in the end. I decided to cut most of the time on animating Wendigoon. Because of his mustache, you don't really need to worry too much about animating the mouth. In fact, I didn't even record myself animating the mouth because I would be so nervous that I would fuck up all the time. With Wendigoon's mustache, it became super simple for me because mostly you don't even see the mouth and you just see the mustache moving. And as for Meat Canyon, I had like 20 frames of different mouth movement. For Wendigoon, I just made the open and close. I really tried to make this animation as simple as I can for myself, so I don't take 3 years to complete this. Most of the frames are actually pretty static that I feel bad for calling it an animation, but I mean, with the parts where they move, I try really hard to make them move properly. But with the parts with their static, I don't really worry about too much second-hand animation or anything. I just make sure the mouth is moving accordingly. You can see that when I was making the assets, I prepared this sort of fence that I just mirrored so it's visible from both sides basically. That was really important for me, especially when it comes to the placement of the hands and arms. So whenever they're grabbing it or leaning on it, I know where to draw the hand. Because with the sketch, I would have no idea where the planks are actually placed. So the arm movement around here is a bit faster, and that's why I once again use the smudge frame, so I don't really need to make like 10 frames, and instead I just make like 3 or 5. And once I got the point movement down, I also made the next keyframe, which would be him just sort of leaning on the fence, and then once again I would just make the in-betweens. I decided that it would be smart for me to add the mouth later because the hands kind of move at different rates than the mouth does. So I might just add the mouth as a separate entity later. But for this part I actually didn't get to finish it. I'm actually happy that I will manage to put a video out this week because I have 6 10-hour shifts this week and I'm absolutely tired. I'm dying. I'm just trying to finish as much as I can before completely passing out of exhaustion. But I'm really praying that next month I will have so much free time that I will just complete this animation as soon as possible, and I just want to start a new one already. So you can see the hands for Wendigoon are a bit more detailed than Peppa Meat because here is more of a square character than the rounded one. And it actually made me struggle a lot because I'm just not good with drawing hands and don't even mention animating them. So I think my big next test is gonna be just making a good animation with realistic hands. I actually had to go back a couple times because the animation of the arms wasn't looking too good, so I needed to add multiple more frames and just test everything. So what I've finished animating so far is just a sketch, but it took 3 hours and I feel my soul leaving my body. Okay, let's go check out how it looks so far.
That has to be lost in these younger generations, dude.
Yeah, the kids don't know. Kids with their TikToks and their
These
iPhones
kids
ain't
don't-
looking for pirate treasure no
They
more.
don't look for pirate treasure anymore. They're just too worried about TikTok dancing and changing sexualities.
I tell you what, Obama's America took the treasure maps
Obama.
away from us.
So within 9 hours, I managed to finish 20 seconds of animated sketch. I am really dead inside. I will try my best to make a video for next week, but sadly I can't really promise anything right now. But if you enjoyed this one, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you can see more content in the future. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!